You ready? Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for September 18th, 2025. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. The commissioners who are present for this evening's meeting are at City Hall and on Zoom. We also have staff from the city attorney's and city clerk's office, as well as the city planning department. If you're joining us on Zoom this evening, we can see that you are here. You may observe the meeting. However, your ability to be seen on screen and talk will be muted. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, you will be unmuted and then be able to comment. Please note that we cannot take questions until the public testimony portion of the meeting. If you have a process question during the meeting, please email cityclerk@meridiancity.org and they will respond as quickly as possible. If you simply want to watch the meeting, we encourage you to watch on the streaming on the city's YouTube channel. You can access it at meridiancity.org/live. With that, let us begin with roll call. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Sandoval?
Present.
Commissioner Stoll?
Here.
Chairperson Lorcher?
Here. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. There are no changes to tonight's agenda, but please note that item number 3, Lofty Creek Park, and item number 4, Cherry Blossom East subdivision, have both requested a continuance. So if there's anyone here to testify on these applications, we will not be taking public testimony tonight. Could I get a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda for tonight as presented.
Do I have a second? It's been moved and second to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are to approve the minutes of the August 21st and the September 4th Planning and Zoning meeting. Could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
Madam Chair, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I would briefly like to explain the public hearing process. We will open each item individually and begin with the staff report. Staff will report their findings on how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and our unified development code. After staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward and present their case and respond to staff's comments. They will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant has finished, we will open the floor to public testimony. Each person will be called only once during the public testimony portion of the meeting. The clerk will call the names individually of those who've signed up on our website in advance to testify. You may come to the microphones in chambers or you will be unmuted on Zoom. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. If you previously sent pictures or a presentation for the meeting, it will be displayed on the screen for our clerk to run the presentation. If you have established you are speaking on the behalf of a larger group like an HOA, where others from that group will allow you to speak on their behalf, you will have up to 10 minutes. After all those who have signed up in advance to testify have spoken, we will invite any others who wish to testify. If you wish to speak on a topic, you may come forward in chambers, or if on Zoom, press the raise hand button in the Zoom app, or if you're only listening on a telephone, please press *9 and your name will be called. If you're listening on multiple devices such as a computer and a phone, please be sure to mute those extra devices so we don't experience feedback and we can hear you clearly. When you are finished, if the commission does not have any questions for you, you will return to your seat in chambers or be muted on Zoom and no longer have the ability to speak. And please remember, we will not call on you a second time. After all testimony has been heard, the applicant will be given another 10 minutes to come back and respond. When the applicant has finished responding to questions and concerns, we will close the public hearing and the commissioners will have an opportunity to discuss and hopefully make final decisions or recommendations to City Council as needed. With that, we are going to start with item number 3. We're going to open the public hearing because it is a continuance, which is item number 2025-0020 for Lofty Creek Park at Eagle and I-84. Madam Clerk, do we have a suggested date for Lofty Creek?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do believe they are requesting December 4th.
Okay, can I get a motion to continue Lofty Creek?
Madam Chair, I move to continue Lofty Creek H2 2025 0020 until December 4th.
Second.
It's been moved and second to continue Lofty Creek to December 4th. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 on the agenda for Cherry Blossom East subdivision has requested a second continuance. Madam Clerk, do we have a suggested date for that continuation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, November 6th.
May I get a motion to continue Cherry Blossom East subdivision?
Madam Chair, I move to continue Cherry Blossom East subdivision application H-2025 0030 until November 6th.
Second.
It's been moved and second to continue Cherry Blossom East subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is for the Pine 43 mixed-use subdivision. Before we start with this application, I would like you to know, well, you will probably all know, I was not here for that meeting on August 21st. I have reviewed all of the notes. I have watched the video on YouTube, and I feel like I am comfortable to make comments and vote on this for this evening. So, and we're not going to open everything. We're really here to continue the application with the intent that we've already discussed most of it. And we're going to address the concerns that were left off at the last meeting. So with that, let me just check my notes again before we go forward. So this is a continuation for Pine 43 mixed-use subdivision off of Pine between Locust Grove and Hickory for a modified development agreement, annexation, rezone, preliminary plat, conditional use permits for multifamily development, height exceptions, and the director's approval for alternative compliance. I think I got all of that. And we will begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. The commission continued this project from the hearing on August 21st in order for the applicant to address the following issues. First was the analysis on the feasibility of setbacks for Lot 1, Block 4, north to south away from State Avenue. And that was this lot right here, Lot 1, Block 4. And then to obtain input from the fire department regarding staffing and equipment and whether they are able to provide adequate service to address the safety needs of this site. Third, specific sound and environmental mitigation plans for the southern border of Lot 1, Block 1. And this is Lot 1, Block 1 down here at the southeast corner. And revisions to the overall open space exhibit as requested in the staff report and discussed during the hearing. The applicant submitted a written response to these items that is included in the public record, and they will be going over that tonight. Stephen Talby with the fire department is present tonight to answer any questions you may have pertaining to the provision of service for the proposed development. A memo from him is included with your hearing outline that clarifies the fire department comments in the staff report. A revised open space exhibit was submitted as shown that demonstrates compliance with the 10% usable open space standard for requests for height exceptions through the alternative compliance process for the 2 vertically integrated residential buildings and the hotel building on Block 4. And that is, again, if you can see my pointer, this is a vertically integrated building here, and then the hotel is located here. And then also for the multifamily building here on Block 3. The vertically integrated and the hotel buildings do provide that additional 10% usable open space. The multifamily building does not meet the standards for a height exception. It only meets the open space standards required for multifamily developments based on the square footage of the units. Although the alternative compliance request for height exceptions is a director level decision, comments and/or recommendation from the commission on the matter is welcomed. New exhibits were submitted as shown for the public and/or quasi-public spaces and places proposed within the development, which total 10% of the development area. Prior to the council hearing, the applicant will submit an exhibit for the overall Pine 43 development, including the area north of State Avenue, that demonstrates consistency with the development guidelines in the comprehensive plan that require a minimum of 5% of the overall site to be supportive and proportional public and/or quasi-public spaces and places. An exhibit was submitted for the vertically integrated building, as shown, at the southeast corner of the development, adjacent to the existing industrial uses to the south, that depicts a 10-foot wide landscape buffer planted with columnar evergreen trees with a 30-foot tall height and a 10-foot width at maturity, and an 8-foot tall masonry wall along the shared property line as an added buffer. And finally, an exhibit was submitted showing how the adjacent residential homes on the north side of East State Avenue will be affected by shade from the proposed vertically integrated building on Lot 1, Block 4. This shows the average shadow line during the winter. At the request of staff, based on testimony at the last hearing, the applicant has agreed to submit a comprehensive shade analysis prior to the council hearing to determine impacts to adjacent properties. And again, that was for the vertically integrated building right here at the southwest corner of State and Webb. Staff will stand for any questions. The applicant is here to present tonight.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. As I wait here for the
If you can
presentation
state
to
your
look.
name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Absolutely. My name is Danielle Strollo.
Okay.
And my address of the record is 601 West Bannock Street in Boise. I'm land use counsel here for the applicant, DRB Investments, on the Pine 43 project. Looks like we're up and running here. So we're back to present the responses to your request for additional documentation from the August 21 hearing. And the design team is here with me as well to cover specific questions that you might have. Okay, so just to remind everyone of where we are, obviously Sonia did a great job introducing the project, but this is the overview of the site. This Pine 43 community is designed carefully to be a model for the type of urban style development desired in this central core part of Meridian, with a mix of uses that support each other and a density of residential development to support area employers, including med tech, all connected with significant non-vehicle infrastructure and on a public transit line. The overarching concerns you expressed at the prior hearing were about compatibility and open space. Specifically, you asked for the feasibility of additional setbacks for the vertically integrated building on Block 4 of the project and sound mitigations for the building in the southeast corner of the site, Lot 1, Block 1. You also asked for clarification on fire comments and revised open space exhibits in response to the staff report. We're here to speak to all of those issues tonight. So I'll start with the first issue, Block 4, Lot 1, the vertically integrated building. Commissioner Rust called this at the last hearing the crown jewel of the project. Okay. You can see here the perspective of this building looking east from East State Avenue. We first note that 65 feet is what's allowed of right in the CG zone, and the additional 11 feet is allowed with alternative compliance where the development provides open space above baseline standards. We meet these alternative requirement standards as indicated by staff. Next, we note that the height is to accommodate view units for the residents in this part of the project. These are high-value units and help to provide the financial support for the considerable public plaza amenity this development will provide. The building has significant landscaping to soften its street level appearance, as you can see in this slide. We looked into stepping this building back further and determined that it would be more detrimental to the project's architecture and financing than it would benefit the neighboring properties. The building is already set back 50 feet, which is double the zoning requirement. We submitted this exhibit to show the angle of the sun in average winter conditions, showing the most consistent shadow that will occur in the winter when the sun is the lowest. You can see essentially that this building is not blocking the sun from the homes to the north of the building. Of course, with the sun coming in from a different angle, there won't be any shadowing in the summer months. You can also see that the closest distance between a home and the building is 90 feet, a significant setback above required for the zone, allowing for privacy. And within that 90 feet will be a designated vegetated streetscape that softens the building and provides a buffer between the uses.
Quick question before you continue. Do these houses already exist?
Yes, yep. This is a satellite, in fact, that we imposed this.
Okay, carry on.
The next issue for, I'm going to skip. Okay. The next issue for which you requested additional information was sound mitigation and buffering from the vertically integrated building in the southeast corner to the nearby light industrial. So that's circled here in this bottom right corner. Pine 43 is providing significant buffering to the light industrial zone properties to our south. In this particular corner, the vertically integrated building depicted here on the left is over 50 feet from the property line. Within those 50 feet, as Sonia described, is a 6-foot pathway adjacent to the building, a 20-foot parking terminal planter island with trees that will grow up to 40 feet at maturity, a 26-foot drive aisle, and then a 10-foot landscaping planter island with those dense evergreen trees. At the edge of that, over 50 feet, is an 8-foot masonry wall on the property line. On the other side of the property, at K&R Automotive, is then a 42-foot wide parking lot for the building where the auto repair use occurs indoors. So that's a total building-to-building space of 105 feet. In addition to that, we're also providing high sound transmission classification rated windows and walls on that side of the building. So this exhibit just shows all that buffering in the context. You can also see that the present uses to the south are in east to west order, the auto repair shop, an insulation contractor, a hunting retail store, and a multi-tenant building including a dance center and various offices. These present uses are not noise intensive or noxious, nor does the IL zone allow uses that would be incompatible with the vertically integrated building or the overall Pine 43 project. In all, this is significant vegetated spatial buffering for a light industrial use that takes place inside. We also want to state that light industrial development is not noisy or noxious, but instead is characterized by typically nationally, by last mile logistics facilities and flex spaces desired by startups, tech companies, and innovation leaders. Those looking to live in mixed use urban style developments know that they're not in a suburb because that's not what they're looking for. They want to be in a dense urban fabric, particularly one like this that's thoughtfully designed and planned. Okay, so we've also provided more information about open space, including revised exhibits showing that we meet alternative compliance requirements, overall open space requirements, and multifamily requirements on the applicable lots, with the exception of Block 3, Lot 2, which we are still working on to comply with that alternative compliance requirement. We propose a condition of approval for that block, which I'll lay out shortly. We appreciate all of Sonia's work on reviewing these exhibits. Yesterday, she asked for one additional exhibit showing open space on the entire 121 acres, and we will have that for the city council hearing, but I can say that we provide 8.5 acres of open space for that overall 121 acre property for the DA. The Pine 43 project is intended to be a high-end, well-designed, comprehensively planned community with intentional and community-focused amenities. The quasi-public and public space exhibit we provided in this latest round shows that these public open spaces are located throughout the plan. And this additional exhibit shows some examples of the kind of open space amenities we're talking about, including benches, tables, and other space for socializing, thoughtfully designed green spaces, and bicycle furnishings, among others. The details of the specific amenities will be resolved in future design review processes. This is only the beginning of the process for this application. The prior hearing, some of you asked about connectivity, and we've provided an updated exhibit as well there. The site is well connected with pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure such that those who live on one side of the project can access the amenities in the other sectors. In this connectivity exhibit, we've placed a circle that's kind of on the edge of the picture here with a diameter of a half mile and a quarter mile radius from that middle plaza. And so this exhibit essentially shows that from the farthest corner of the site to the center plaza is about a quarter mile walk. So as a final note, we did again visit with Deputy Chief Talby to discuss his comments on this application at the August hearing. He reiterated that this project will be reviewed against the fire code for compliance at later stages. And I did see the memo that was provided to me today. It's pretty much consistent with this. So his comments were reflective of a general need for staff rather than specifically concerned about the nature of this project. We will meet all fire code requirements for the buildings in this site, of course. And we also note that the project's development timeline likely starts about 3 years from now. So we're a bit far out from that fire code inspection. With that, we reiterate our request for a recommendation of approval for these applications to facilitate development of this unique and first to Meridian urban mixed use concept. We also reiterate our ask to remove conditions 2 and 3F. 2 additional requests are for a condition of approval that lot 2, block 3 meet required open space standards for alternative compliance and multifamily, and that the open space design on block 1, lot 2 be approved in a future design review application with public space amenities in lieu of a berm requirement. And I'll talk a little bit about that here. So with specific regard to that lot 2, block 1, we want to note that the code requirement of a 4-foot berm or barrier adjacent to streets is really a requirement that isn't aligned with urban environments, which this development really strives for. The open spaces on this lot will be the kind of public open spaces that provide for interaction and activation at the street level, making a 4-foot berm or wall kind of inappropriate for the design that we're going for. So that's why we're asking that these public amenities be allowed in lieu of that requirement pursuant to the multifamily CUP. So to close, we note that this development meets or exceeds open space requirements overall, and that this application, like many others, will be reviewed for design and code compliance in future design review and CZC applications after it's approved at the city council level. And this is a one-of-a-kind development in Meridian. We appreciate that we're on the forefront here. One that will be a legacy product for Dennis Baker and DMB, and will truly carry out the mixed-use vision that Meridian has for this area and overall as the city grows. Mixed-use development is very desirable here and in the valley in general, and it's more efficient from a land use perspective, and it's the type of development that creates a vibrant, inviting, and economically beneficial community. This is an opportunity here to develop a large amount of infill space, exactly the way your comprehensive and strategic plans envision. So with that, thank you for your time, and we'll stand for questions that you have.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. One first for Deputy Chief Talby. So it's kind of been noted a couple times now that feedback from the fire department was a general statement about staffing levels, equipment, et cetera. I don't recall seeing that before on new applications. So is this just kind of coincidentally something that the fire department is starting to do? I'm wondering what the nexus of this comment was. Should we expect to start seeing this feedback from the fire department more? Or is there something specific about the characteristics of this development that has caused you to, even if it's at a wide level, say, hey, above a certain height, for example, we have issues?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner Smith. I've been in the position here at the City of Meridian coming on a year, so I can't speak to projects before my time here, just to be fair. So moving forward, in talking with Chief Bloom, when we look at projects that are coming through planning, we're looking at the scope and the size of the project. So again, if it was Pine 43 or it was, Eagleville High, whatever that case may be, we're going to apply these comments as applicable based on the scope, size, and risk of the property. So it's not intentionally towards this specific project, but anything of this scope and size, we would provide the same feedback based on our current staffing model and deployment algorithm that we follow based on NFPA 1710 standard.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up, is there a process? Sorry, brain's swimming in some soup today. what I'm trying to get at is, to me, this scale one project can be also similar to, multiple, a sum of multiple other smaller projects. And so I'm curious what the fire department's algorithm is, or maybe not in the specifics, but is it simply the fact that this is the size of this is all happening in one application? And kind of what I'm curious about what the difference is between that versus kind of the incremental gain and potentially incremental risk of lower response times from multiple smaller projects.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Smith. So looking at this, there are some comparable projects. However, with this one, when you look at a 5 to 7 story building that is a residential type structure, either apartment, hotel, motel, the risk goes up incrementally due to the fact of the individuals that live there. And so, that's why we're looking at, as you look at something of this scale, it's not comparable to a 3-story apartment building or a 3-story hotel motel. When you're looking at 5 to 7 stories and anywhere from 50 to 75 feet, there's different components with that when we show up on scene for evacuation, mitigation, response, how we look at mutual aid. So again, it's just based on the size and the scale of, when you're looking at, when you get above that 5-story level, encroaching up to the 7 floors.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Another follow-up, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So would it be accurate to state, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I'm understanding what the comment is, that it's not that the fire department, because of any architectural or design issues, it's not that the fire department feels incapable of responding to this this development efficiently and effectively, but any development that is above this height with current equipment and staffing, or that is at this height or somewhere. Okay.
Correct. Any project that would come through at this scale, again, when you're looking at that 5 to 7 or going towards the mid-rise, high-rise package, it would be applicable as well.
Okay. Thank you. One other question, Madam Chair, for the applicant.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if I'm misremembering or if I just if there's a gap in my memory. I don't recall discussion of your ask to strike condition PP3F about the animal farm plat. Could you go into a little bit of what that request is?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so it was on the slide for that slideshow in the last presentation, but we never really had much of a discussion about it. Essentially, we're asking that this project be separated from that project that has been held up for various reasons by that property owner. We just want to kind of separate those two projects.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry to hog the time, but I have a question for staff to that end.
Go ahead.
So reading through the staff analysis, it seems like there's that the concern is that creates potential for an illegal division of land. Has something like this been successfully done? Is there any mechanism by which we can enforce and prevent that illegal division of land if that final plat isn't recorded?
Was that a question? If the final plat was recorded? If so, no, it's not recorded that I'm aware of, unless it just got recorded.
No, Madam Chair, I guess my question is based on the staff analysis. And again, forgive me for being a little bit sluggish today. But I'm reading, because the preliminary plat excludes this area, it would create an illegal division of land if the final plat isn't recorded. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat is contingent upon recordation of the final plat. So I'm curious about kind of, I guess, what I'm struggling with is if we could dumb it down for me. What is the rub here? What is if we were to, from the applicant, I guess, if we were to strike this, what is the mechanism by which we ensure compliance and not a illegal division?
That is the mechanism.
Okay.
Commissioner.
And if I may weigh in there too, I mean, we're working with that. I mean, that plat was approved by the city. It's a matter of recordation, and we're working with that landowner to get that recorded and get that taken care of. It's more just, we don't have control of that property. That landowner has to get that done. So we're doing what we can to get that done. It's just, we don't want our project to be held up by whatever is going on with that landowner.
Okay, so just to reiterate, because this was really never discussed in the last meeting.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that there's one portion of this entire big parcel, there's a holdout?
Yes,
And so what are you asking of planning and zoning in regard to that parcel?
we're just trying to get our preliminary plat separated from that issue of the recordation of their final plat. That's all we're asking.
And staff, is that amenable to you, or do you need that listed separately?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I'm trying to go through my memory bank because I was part of that discussion with the current landowner, not this particular applicant. But through the process, we did determine that somehow they had one parcel and they ended up with three. And we were like, how did you end up with three parcels? Because we showed you having one. And we determined that they possibly went to the county and created these new deeds and illegally subdivided the property. What I can tell you is we have approved a final plat for them to get that done. I would need a few minutes to look in the system to see if they're even valid or if we've even signed the plat. So in our world, we only require signature on the plat for them to meet the requirements. If we don't have that done, then and this property was part of the original Pine 43 project, or Pine Bridge project, I should say. I'm getting the project names mixed up. Then it puts them in a bad bind, and particularly this project, because typically if a project was part of a preliminary plat and was split off and not final platted, then it becomes a remnant piece. And so that's why staff put that condition in here. We want to make sure that they're whole moving forward, because without having this piece done, it doesn't make them whole. So how they want to work that out with the applicant, I hope they have the influence to do that, because I can tell you, we worked on this project. We must be getting close to the 2-year window on this particular application. So staff wants to make sure that it doesn't fall through the cracks, and then we end up with a situation where no other recourse than to not approve a final plat for them when they come in to submit, because we can't find it being consistent with the overall project. So
Does
they're
that
at
need to
risk.
be-
They're at risk if they do take that condition out. We need to have that final, that
So do we
plat
need to have that
finalized.
part of our motion? No?
It's already conditioned.
It's
for
already
them
conditioned?
To make that happen, yeah.
Okay.
It's difficult, to the applicant's point, it's difficult because they don't control the property, but that property owner controls the fate of their plat here. So it's a double-edged sword for them, unfortunately, but it's something that we have to stay strong on, be consistent with, and making sure that we make them whole going forward.
Okay, and then just bear with me for a second here. So the condition of that they would like to strike, but the city, the planners would like to include, that doesn't prohibit them from continuing their development of their project, right? It's just more of a negotiation with this landowner going forward. Is that correct? They're nodding yes.
Madam
So-
Chair, the condition is, it requires approval of the preliminary plat is contingent upon recordation of the final plat for Pine 43 Animal Farm for the property located at the southwest corner of East Pine and North Webb Avenue. A final plat application shall not be submitted to the Planning Division for any phase of development until the final plat is recorded. I think the latter part is what they're objecting to.
Yeah, so it does prevent us from moving forward with the project. And part of what's happening too is the city has some control over what's going on with the final plat. They signed off on the final plat, but it's still in process because in part of the city's actions. I understand it. Yeah, sure. Let's come talk about it. I'll have him introduce himself.
Fine, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, Dan Torfin. I'm part of the DRB group. And so our ask is not to have that hold up our project because we don't have control. The city has control because the city has approved their plat. The city has signed the final plat, and it is at the county surveyor waiting for some agreements that we're working on with them for cross access. But as Bill mentioned, we've been talking to them for quite a while, and they have, their organization is maybe what causes the long lapse of time, but we do not have control over that. Our point is the city has control to issue any further building permits down the road, because what I understand is they want to build another building. But we are actively talking to the newest person in the group to try to get our things done. And from what I understand, the ball's in their court, sign some agreements. The city wants those agreements and the county surveyor wants those agreements. But it has been a difficult thing. And so that's why we're asking that, not to be held up by them, whereas the city has control over that property and has previously approved a final plat and signed that final plat.
But do you also understand from the city's perspective, if you've got a lone wolf out there, you've got this beautiful, incredible urban setting, and then you've got this, 3 divided parcels that could be, somebody's garage that can be just full of stuff, right? And so everything that you have new and shiny, now you're stuck with something, whereas if it was part of the entire project, even though you don't have control over it now, you mentioned they have a 3-year, before you even start building out, you're at least 2 weeks before city council. So there is time, but to have this little remnant there from the city's perspective, I understand both sides, right? You want to go forward. They don't want this to be left behind, because that can create a whole new set of problems going forward with, septic and sewer and county and just this little island in the middle of the city.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, the parcels, the extra parcels are vacant land and all the utilities have been stubbed to it. And so I guess if it doesn't move forward, they don't get their building permit. Is that correct, Bill? And they can't do any more with their property. So I think that's where it's kind of housekeeping. I'm here to tell you that we are in full cooperation to try to help them do whatever we have to do to get it done. This little thing holding up a near $1 billion project doesn't seem like it, that would be fair to us. And it is out of our control.
Right.
But we will cooperate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, that's all for now. I think that makes, I understand the issue now.
Okay. Where are we at? So you're talking, we're asking questions. I'm going to ask you to sit down for a minute.
Okay.
And then we will see if there's any, unless you have a question for them right now. Well, we're going to get public testimony and then the applicant can come back and respond. Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any questions for the applicant at this time?
Not at the moment.
Okay, you're good to go. All right. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody here to testify?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No one has signed up.
Is there anybody in chambers that would like to testify? Hi, thanks for coming tonight. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Ian Tompkins and I live at 1018 Webb Way Avenue. The post office accepts both. Building 105, which
Okay.
is part of the Dovetail Apartments, right across State from this development.
Okay,
2 items that I want to point out that besides my full approval of the project at this full request, 2 items I just wanted to make note of real quick. I heavily approve of the additional walkability they're looking for with this project. Right now, if I want to walk to a place to eat or a place to shop, either I've got a couple of shops there at Fairview, at the front Fairview there for Pine, but otherwise I've got to cross Fairview or I've got to cross Eagle, because it is not walkable between Dovetail and Eagle and Fairview without crossing either Fairview or Eagle Road. There is no sidewalk there. So this would be until a development goes in or something changes where additional sidewalks are added. This would be, the commercial being added here would be a huge benefit to the local community in that area, just because of the walkability being provided in that area. And then the other one, because I do work a little bit in the construction industry, Correct me if maybe he could correct me if I'm wrong. Apologies, I forget your name. But for fire safety, do not all buildings 3-story and higher that are residential in the city of Meridian require sprinklers, a solid sprinkler system of some kind?
Through the chair, yes, fire sprinkler requirements are actually based on occupancy and use of the actual building. So it could be, doesn't necessarily residential, it could be, but typically, yes, all residential multifamily is always requiring sprinklers.
So while, yes, there are some worries due to current equipment levels of Meridian Fire, which I would put more on just the budget problems that the city of Meridian has due to ongoing problems with the state level. I would say that current code requirements for fire does cover enough for fire concerns to give enough time to help people before fire does show up. So, and just in conclusion, I do severely support this project and hope that planning and zoning approves it to continue on to city council.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else in chambers that would like to testify? Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Commissioners, my name is Duggan Henderson Begg, 4410 Cherry Barkway, Meridian, here in the city. I represent Harvey Performance Company. I
Okay.
am the neighbor of this development. We're fully in support of this. I represent the company being asked to come along. We are working very closely with our neighbors, and they've been very helpful in our growth and development of it. We are a global company, continuing to look at our global footprint, and it's super important for us to 9 acres that we own next to this to be able to develop with that. We're really pleased to see the housing that helps us drive the employee base that they can come in and grow with us. We're 75 employees right now and growing very quickly. As a global company, we've also got people coming in from all over the world to visit. So having the hotel, having the housing, and the opportunities for, quick lunches, things like that with these amenities. So we wanted to share our support of this development as a light industrial. I appreciate the desire for the city of Meridian to continue growing that. It's certainly important to us to have the support of like manufacturers that we can share technologies with. And as we grow with automation and things like that, we need that light industrial around us. So support for this project, and just hope we can get this through.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else in chambers would like to speak? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody on Zoom?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one person attending on Zoom. Their hand is not raised.
Okay. Would the applicant like to come forward again for any further questions before we close the public hearing? Just out of curiosity, when I watched the the planning and zoning meeting online, all of the renderings were very tiny. So it was hard for me to, really kind of pick out some of the things that you were speaking of, but I get the gist. But just out of curiosity, so Ian mentioned that he was looking for something more walkability. The tenants that you were kind of contemplating having in there, obviously, light food and restaurants. Are you thinking also grocery stores where people don't have to have a car? They can kind of live, work, and play within this kind of urban community?
We don't have any grocery store, like large grocery store, big box things. We're looking more for kind of neighborhood commercial uses. If there's, bodegas and smaller kind of, opportunities for people to get their groceries kind of needs there, sure, absolutely. But we do, again, it's kind of in this core area of Meridian where those areas are pretty accessible. And we're building out the connectivity to allow that people wouldn't have to get in a car to have to get to those uses.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any other questions for the applicant before we close the public hearing? Danielle, Commissioner Smith?
Just regarding that open space kind of for, I think, block 3, lot 2, just out of curiosity, and I know we obviously don't have an exhibit, but to be comfortable kind of with moving this forward with that condition, I'm curious, what is the thumb in the wind intention to expand that open space? Is it to reduce parking? Is it to rework? I mean, just get an idea,
Yep.
curious.
Yeah, sure. Commissioner, Madam Chair, Commissioner Smith. Sorry, I'm not practiced at doing that. So yeah, we're looking at a lot of different things. We are looking to expand potentially the rooftop amenities in that building. We're also looking at, yes, potentially removing some parking spaces and utilizing that space better. So it's about 13,000 square feet that we're looking to find, and we're pretty confident that we'll be able to find it.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Madam Clerk?
did you want to give them the 10-minute rebuttal? The applicant?
Or, well, are
Do
we?
you want me to start the time? for
Oh,
questioning or-
no, I think we're done. We're
Okay,
good.
thank you. Just
Thanks.
want to clarify.
I think
We have rules, right? Okay,
I'm sure.
Commissioner Stoll.
So if I have a question for staff, can I ask it after we close the public hearing, or should I ask it now?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Stoll, either way works, but I would encourage you to, particularly if you think it might require some interaction between staff and the applicant, now is fine. But you can ask questions of staff
Okay, I wasn't
after the hearing is closed if you wish as well.
Okay, still trying to figure out this process. So if I may, so in the staff Madam Chair, in the staff memo, Sonia, you identified that you had concerns, staff had concerns regarding the increase in residential units, but it sounded like at the loss of the commercial space that was available in the development. But in another part of the memo, I saw that there's an increase, and I can't remember the exact figure, of commercial space, or I should say non-residential space, beyond what the original agreement was. Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something. I'm not sure.
I'm not entirely clear on what you're asking. I'm sorry.
So in your
Do you have
staff,
my staff report in front of you?
no, this is what I read earlier.
Do you want me to like rip out? I have it.
Sure, if you, would you like me to read you my recommendation? Would that help or?
No, it's actually a part of the memo that you had where you were commenting that the
staff
concerns.
report?
Yeah, it was in the staff report, sorry. Staff report that there's concerns regarding the increase in number of residential units beyond what the original application was. And that it was that we needed to have more commercial space in Meridian. And yet, as part of the staff report, it said also that we had an increase from the original application in the non-residential space of the development. So,
Madam Chair, I think I have the language that you're
Commissioner
talking
Smith.
about. I think what Commissioner, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Stoll, I think what you're talking about regarding the increase is on page 11 of staff analysis under the development agreement modification. It says this is an increase of 134,000 square foot of non-residential space over what is currently entitled to build out Pine 43.
thank you.
No problem.
Madam Commissioner and Commissioner Stoll, there's also, there's a nice table that shows kind of how the development has progressed, what we're proposing, which is an increase of non-residential space. And then I'd also just emphasize that, the residential density is what provides for the non-residential uses, square footages. It supports those uses, in other words.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. It seems to me that it's pointing out that we're getting an increase in residential units and we're increasing the non-residential space
Correct.
from what the original plat was.
Yes,
So
that's right.
we're getting, from my viewpoint, the best of both worlds in that we're addressing the housing crunch that we've identified not only in Meridian, but across the valley as far as a shortage of residential units.
Correct.
But we're also getting commercial space. May not be exactly located where folks wanted it, but that's part of the flexibility that we all should be having.
Correct. We're also in creating med tech space that's desirable. So, there's a variety of uses here that the city really wants.
Yeah, that's all I.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner, for finding that spot.
Happy to help.
Danielle, did you want to add anything else before we close the public hearing?
No, I don't think so.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
Madam Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on Pine 43. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I think I have, I appreciate the applicant going to, the drafting table and addressing some of these concerns. I think, that southeast property, I think the proximity to light industrial with all those modifications doesn't inherently concern me as much anymore. I think there's a balance being struck. And I think knowing that all of that is indoors and they're not as concerned about air quality and things like that, and that sound mitigation is helpful. I think the two areas where I'm still, I guess maybe three areas, one of them's light, is I don't know that we should strike the animal farm plat recording issue. I think if that is, it seems like all parties are incentivized to get this done with some haste. And I know, in the past we've been burned by something going wrong in development as a city and large projects falling through. And so I'd like to limit any risk of that happening, prior to construction or prior to kind of anything getting moved forward. I think the one of the issues that we had was regarding the kind of height difference on that northern boundary. To be honest, I still don't love it. It's not enough to make me, hold back my approval. I'd love for the applicant to maybe consider some things. I don't know that I would put this in a motion to require this, but I'd love for them to consider additional, landscaping along that the property line of their homes. I think it's not inherently about shadow privacy, it's sight lines. And even though, while the shadow might not be encroaching on someone's home, being able, having a certain amount of people just being able to see in your living room. Again, sometimes it's inherent to happen. I live near 2-story houses, but if we can limit that, that would be nice. And then the last thing that is a significant concern for me, but it sounds like this is something that the city needs to handle as a whole, is that fire department response. I still am uncomfortable about that, even if it's not the applicant's fault. It's not a fault of the design. I think there's a lot of discussion of fire safety that's happening in zoning spaces. For example, dual stair requirements versus single stair and things like that. My concern isn't necessarily with fire and incineration, but smoke inhalation, which with a project of this size and buildings of this size with the fire department response does give me some pause. If there is a fire, making sure those people at the top have adequate egress and, wayfinding capabilities through smoke, that's a concern of mine. I don't know that there is anything that we could require the applicant to do. I think this is a larger discussion that probably needs to be had at the city level. So with that, I think there are a lot of things that give me some pause and give me some heartburn. But I do think the applicant has made a significant amount of improvements that have earned my support. I'm interested to see how this rolls out. And I think there's some good things, even if they don't align with what we're used to in Meridian or what aligns with traditional requirements. I think this could serve a great benefit for walkability, for community, for third place creation and things like that.
Thank you. I'll weigh my 2 cents in since you haven't heard from me yet. The initial picture of the renderings of the area, I think, are shocking because it's all street level. So, it took a while for everybody in Meridian to get used to the village, but it's kind of sequestered among the parking lots, and you really have to go in there to be able to see this. Your project is right on Pine Avenue, and you're taking my secret special way to get around town away because you're adding density. But that's not for 3 years, so I don't have to worry about that. But it's very ambitious, and Tammy DeWeerd said that, when you're the first in line to do something different, sometimes you get the worst brunt of it because it's never been done before. My husband has been here from 1973. I can only imagine what he thinks when he lived here when there were 7,000 people and he sees what Meridian has become. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, it's definitely growth. We know that ICOM is a medical school here in Meridian that we desperately need in the state of Idaho. We know that Idaho State University is building a medical complex at the corner of Locust Grove and Central, ? We know that the city of Meridian is pursuing a levy for fire and police, possibly as early as this November, to be able to answer some of those questions when it comes to fire, because we know we will continue to grow. I was a little surprised at the statistics as far as single-family homes versus apartments, because from a layman's view, you see all the apartments here and you think, God, we should probably have enough, right? But if the ratio is still 80-20 or even 90-10, where it's single-family homes to apartments and things like that, we are not in line with other communities. I do know that my daughter works for Alaska Airlines and she can't afford to live in Meridian. The apartment prices are too high. So she has to live, someplace else. And that makes it very difficult for her to have, an adult job and not be able to afford the place that she lives. So by having mixed pricing and mixed types of use here makes it more accessible to not only young people, but empty nesters and others as well. And they're not going to move in there if they don't like the product. If they don't want to move next to a repair shop, then that's their choice, and if they don't like that there's a 2-story or 3-story building behind them, then they're not going to move there. And that we'll let the market decide on that. So with that in mind, I am inclined to give my stamp of approval to this to go on to city council. And I don't have a problem. I know the staff doesn't like the residential on the south side of the street, but maybe some people who want to live there don't want to be in the whole mix of things. They don't want to be in the city plaza. They would just want to be set back a little bit, and having them across the street just gives them a reason to walk a little bit further on purpose. So those are all good positive things. In regard to that one lone parcel, that's a tough one. If I do make the motion, I'm not going to take that out for you. I think you can continue to work through that with staff. I know you don't have control over the owner, but we, as a city, have had challenges with little islands before. And I think overall in your project design, it's going to come back and haunt you if that administration part is not taken care of. Commissioner Stoll, do you have any other comments that you would like to give tonight?
Turn on all my microphones. Madam Chair, I really like the project. I stated that at the last meeting. I'm supportive of it. I believe that what you're proposing, as I indicated earlier, increases the residential units, which we drastically need, along with increasing the non-residential units that were space from what the original plat was. I am not inclined to support carving off the animal farm parcel just because it is our one tool to actually get the project done and get things dealt with instead of having a remnant parcel later on. I believe, as I expected, the answer was a global. We have a problem with fire service across the city, primarily for reasons that are outside of the city's control. The city is looking at solutions to that, but it shouldn't be put onto your shoulders as an application. So I'll leave it at that, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any other thoughts than what's already been said?
Yeah, Madam Chair. So my primary concern was that this corridor was always envisioned to be mixed use, right? So balancing housing, offices, retail. I took offense to the increase in residential initially. Commissioner Stoll, I'm happy you pointed out and got some clarification on that. Yes, there's an increase in residential, but there's also an increase in that commercial space. I think it's very thoughtfully planned out. They took a lot of time and they were amenable to a lot of the things that we've asked for. So generally, I'm very supportive of this project. I don't think we should carve out one small portion of it, though. I think that needs to be resolved now, right? Instead of waiting several years for that. Other than that, I'm in favor of approving.
So with that in mind, after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to recommend approval, City Council File Number H 2024-0071 to City Council, but do not prohibit the residential development south of Pine, and provide a shadow report to City Council on September 18th, 2025.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith.
I guess point of inquiry, I guess. I'm not sure. I think there was also some additional requests regarding requiring that Block 3, Lot 2 meet open space standards and that Block 1, Lot 1 be approved in a future design review. I just want to make sure you're aware of those.
Were those in the staff report?
Those were in the presentation from the applicant. I don't know if we can pull up the presentation of the slide of title request to commission.
Then if you can help me draft the motion, I don't know all the block numbers.
Okay. Okay, then in that case, Madam Chair, I move we amend the motion to recommend approval to City Council, striking staff's recommended condition of DA number 2, which removes residential south of Pine. Also conditioning on approval that the project meet required open space standards for alternative compliance and multifamily on Block 3, Lot 2, and that Block 1, Lot 2 open space design be approved in a future design review application with public space amenity in lieu of berm requirement. So
Second.
I don't know where we.
Madam Chair,
Sonia?
excuse me, there are not any conditions of approval in the staff report for the multifamily developments because staff was recommending denial. Do you wish to continue this project to a later hearing date for staff to draft conditions of approval? Or would you like to forward it on to council as is?
I would like to forward on to council as is.
Clarification, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Stowe?
When staff says forward on to council as is, do you mean as is how the application was presented or with your conditions that are in the staff report?
There are no conditions in the staff report, so that's what I was mentioning is the issue. Typically, a project is continued to a later hearing date in order for staff to draft conditions when staff wasn't initially in support of the project. I'll defer to legal on this, our city attorney, but otherwise, staff could draft conditions for council's consideration in their motion.
Kurt?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, so that's going to be my thought as well, is that if the commission is inclined to proceed with the positive recommendation, that seems to be the situation. I think that could be incorporated, so Sonia's last thought could be incorporated into your motion as well, which would be to, part of the motion would be to have staff prepare appropriate conditions of approval prior to council consideration. And so the council, city council would have those conditions before them and would be able to to approve or amend or modify. The only downside of that is that the commission is not going to have an opportunity to comment or make a recommendation, but I think given the circumstance, the city council will be understanding of why that might be the case.
Right.
Another comment, Madam Chair, to include in your motion, if you had intended to, was the applicant's response that included sound mitigation for the vertically integrated structure next to the industrial at the southeast corner of the development. If you wanted to include those as conditions of approval in the development agreement.
All right, there's too many words for me. Jared, can you add those to?
Sure. Okay, so we want to just start from scratch?
So let me recommend this because we're getting into sort of an amendment to an amendment.
I know, so.
I'm gonna recommend, just for a cleaner record, if the maker of the motion would just be willing to withdraw the motion and then, that'd be part one.
Okay,
And then part two is if if you're okay with this, Madam Chair, you can ask Commissioner Smith to make the motion that includes all those bits and parts that we just discussed.
Okay, let's keep this on the books. I withdraw my motion. So that's off the table. And then have Jared make a brand new one so you can start from the beginning.
Absolutely. Sorry, Madam
Thank
Chair, I'm
you.
trying to find the number here. Here's the file number. Okay. Madam Chair, after considering all staff applicant and public testimony, I move to recommend approval of file number H-2024-0071 with, as presented in the staff report with the following modifications: to require sound mitigation on the southeast corner as proposed by the applicant of the development, to strike DA2 in the staff's recommendation conditions, which requires removal of residential south of Pine, to add a condition of approval that the project meet required open space standards for alternative compliance and multifamily on Block 3, Lot 1, and then to allow Block 1, Lot 2 open space design to be approved in a future design review application with public space amenity in lieu of berm requirement.
And Madam Chair and Commissioner Smith, one more, it would be the part of the motion would be for staff to prepare conditions of approval for
yes.
the multifamily aspect of the project prior to
Yep.
city council consideration.
Madam Chair, I'd like to tack on Kirk's language that he
Okay.
said more eloquently than I could.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve Pine 43 and to move on to city council with the aforementioned items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All, any nays? Motion carries. May I get one more motion for the evening?
Move to adjourn.
I
Second.
need it. It's been moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries.